Hello and welcome to 30 Days of Yoga, Yoganuary, day 7. So well done for showing up for this series, or whether you're doing this as part of the series or not, well done for showing up on your mat again today. We are doing an inversions practice today. So for those of you who don't know, inversions is when we go upside down or we have our heart lifted above our head. That doesn't necessarily mean anything extreme. This could just be a downward facing dog, for example, is technically an inversion. So whether you have inversions in your practice normally or not, we're always listening to our body and taking what is going to serve you in the practice. But if you do find that when kind of inversions are mentioned, or headstands, handstands, those kind of things are mentioned, that you do suddenly kind of feel quite resistant, then I urge you today to just see if you can come and still join us in this practice and take what you need from it. We're going to start today in a seated position. We're going to get straight into it so we can have a nice warm up for this practice. So we're going to inhale and exhale, drop the chin down towards the chest. And I want you to start to roll the head over to one side and then over to the other side. Just checking in with the neck, the shoulders, noticing how everything's feeling. And breathing in and out through the nose. And then lifting the head back to center, start to take some shoulder rolls. Just going to move the shoulders around in one direction and then start coming back in the opposite direction as well. So rolling the shoulders forwards and backwards. Starting to shake out the wrists here. Love this one. One of my favorites, as you probably know by now if you've been flowing with me for a while. And then interlace the fingers, start to circle the wrists going around in one direction. Ooh, feeling into any clicks and pops. I know I always have quite a few of those going on. I don't know about anyone else, but I definitely usually do. Nice, and then bringing the hands to the knees or the thighs. We're going to inhale, open across the chest. Exhale, round the spine, draw up the chin down, draw the belly in, pelvis drawing up and in towards the body. So seated cat and cows. Inhale, making space across the chest, shining the heart forwards. Exhale, draw up the chin down, round the spine. Inhale, opening, shining the heart forwards. Exhale, rounding, drawing the belly in. And then start to take these movements into some circular motions. So moving around in one direction, over to the side, rounding. Grounding those sitting bones into the mat to help stabilize, and make sure to come back in the opposite direction as well. Really moving into the torso, the front of the body, the back of the body. Nice, finishing your last circle. And we're going to reach the legs out in front. Flex the feet. Inhale, reach the crown of your head to the ceiling. Exhale, hinge from the hips, fold forwards. Paschimottanasana. So keeping that space across the chest, really leading with the chest bone. Prioritize the length of the spine over coming deeper into the pose. On your inhale, thinking about making space, lifting the chest. And on your exhale, sinking into that space you've created. Inhale, lift the chest away from the fold, coming back up to neutral, and then come into your all fours position on your mat. So tabletop position, hips above the knees. Exhale, walk your hands out in front, melt the heart and the forehead down towards the mat for puppy pose. Breathing here. Coming down to the forearms instead if you need to. Inhale, draw the belly in, walk the hands back into all fours, tuck the toes under, exhale back to downward facing dog. And just remembering throughout this practice that you can come down to a child's pose at any time that you need to. So remember, you can keep some bend through the legs here, just sending the gaze between the knees. You can start to take a little pedal out through the feet here, if that feels good too. Just moving into the backs of the legs. Then playing with a little bit of dolphin, we're going to come down to the forearms now. And then on your inhale, lift your heels away from the mat. And on your exhale, draw them back down. Walk the feet in a little bit more if you can. Inhale, lift the heels away from the mat. Exhale, bring them back down. Can you walk the feet in a little bit more? Inhale, come up on the toes. Exhale, draw the heels back down. Walk the feet back out one step. Inhale, lift the heels away. Exhale, back down. Walk the feet out one step more. Inhale, up on the toes. Exhale, back down. Power up through the hands, bringing it back to a downward facing dog. Well done. Step the feet in towards the hands and bending the legs as much as you need to hang down for a forward fold. Seeing if you can take your peace fingers around the big toes, drawing the elbows out to the side, letting the head drop down. Taking any gentle movement that feels good here. Maybe on your inhale you can lift the chest, and on your exhale bend the arms, folding down, letting that head drop. And inhale, we're going to curl the body up to standing, draw the belly in, keep some softness in the legs. And lifting that head up last, finding your Tadasana mountain pose. Inhale, sweep your fingertips up to the sky, reaching the crown of the head to the ceiling. Exhale, fold forward, bend the legs as much as you need to. Inhale, lift the chest, lengthen the spine, halfway lift. Exhale, hands come down to the mat. Step your feet back to plank or drop the knees straight down to modify. Shoulders above the wrists, fingers spread. Breathing here. Keep that prana, that life force energy flowing within the body. Exhale, drop the knees down. Keep the elbows tucked in towards the chest. Lower the body down to the mat. Inhale, roll the shoulders back, peel the chest away from the mat, cobra, or you could take your upward facing dog here. And then on your exhale, pressing the mat away with your hands, lifting the hips to the sky, downward dog. Reconnecting with your breath or taking a child's pose. Inhale, sweep the right leg through between the hands. Reach the fingertips up to the sky, finding a high lunge. An option to float the hands down to the lower back here, squeezing the elbows in towards each other, seeing if you can gently lift the heart here. Keep breathing. Maybe you can send your gaze up towards the ceiling. And stepping the left foot in slightly, lengthening through both legs. So the left toes are pointing out at a slight angle, hips are square, shining forwards. Inhale, reach the crown of the head to the ceiling. Exhale, hinge from the hips. We fold over that front right leg. So you could be staying a lot higher up here. If it's in your practice, you can take the hands down to the mat and work that forehead in towards the right shin. But that's really just an option. That does not mean that's where you need to be. Just keeping your right hip tucked in, breathing into the back of your right leg. Inhale, bringing the hands back to the hips, lifting the chest, keep the spine long, coming away from the fold, and then we open out to Prasarita Padottanasana. So toes are pointing forwards, hands on the hips. Inhale, lift the ribs away from the hips. Exhale, hinge from the hips, keep the spine long, folding down. And either staying higher up or bringing the hands down to the mat. Maybe walking the heels of the hands in line with the heels of the feet. Bringing a bit of weight into the balls of the feet. Inhale, hands come back to the hips, draw the belly in, keep the spine long, lifting the chest. And then pivoting so that we take our pyramid on the other side. So now we're facing forwards, we've got the left leg in front, right leg's at the back, right toes pointing out at a slight angle. Inhale, reach the crown of the head to the ceiling. Exhale, fold forwards, left hip tucks in. Option to bring the forehead drawing in towards that left shin if that's in your practice. Keeping the left hip tucked in. Inhale, lifting away from the fold, gently lifting the chest as you keep the spine nice and long, coming back up. And then we've almost worked like a little mandala here, so we're going to step this right leg back and I want you to find your high lunge left side now. So inhale, reaching the fingertips up, lifting up and out from the waist. Exhale, floating the hands down, seeing if you can bring them to the lower back. So elbows are squeezing in towards each other, hearts lifting, seeing if you can send the gaze up to the ceiling. If this is too much, just keeping the gaze out in front. Well done. Release the hands, so float the hands down to frame that front foot. Step it back to plank, hopefully feeling nice and warm now. And flow through your version of chaturanga. So inhaling, upward facing dog or cobra. And exhaling back to your downward facing dog. So now we're going to drop our knees down to the mat. And we're either going to come into, if headstand's in your practice, you're going to take a headstand. If it's not, you're going to come into our rabbit pose. So for rabbit pose, what we're doing is we bring our heels, we're kneeling, and you bring your hands to your heels. And then we're coming down as if we're coming into a child's pose almost. And then we're lifting our hips, but we're not putting a lot of weight into the head here. We're really using our hands, creating that resistance with the heels, drawing the belly in, finding that movement, okay? So that is a really good way to start to practice for things like headstand, etc. Into your headstand, or you want to give headstand a go, we're interlacing the fingers and we're drawing and cupping the head with the hands. And what we're doing when we do our headstands is a lot of the weight is going into the arms and the shoulders, rather than all the weight kind of going into the head. So the first starting point here is to find that positioning with the hands and the arms, and then we're lifting the hips to the sky, and you can start to walk the feet in towards you, and then you might start with bending the right leg in, bending the left leg. Maybe start to be able to bring the legs up, working into your headstand, but you could just be playing with the legs, practicing tapping them away. So coming away from either your rabbit pose or whichever version you did, and then coming down into a child's pose now. So closing the eyes or taking a steady gaze, taking a couple of breaths here. And of course, if you want to take a little time out in your child's pose, you absolutely can. Keep listening to what you need, knowing your limit. And then opening the eyes back up, coming back to all fours now. We're going to tuck the toes under and exhale back into a downward facing dog. Walking the feet in from here, we're now going to have a little play with some handstand. So a great way to practice your handstand is to practice with some bunny hops. So again, your bunny hops could be looking like this. Okay, maybe start to come higher up. Maybe you start to work into your handstand. So you're going to do 5 bunny hops, either just hopping up and down or hopping into handstand, whatever's in your... And then once you're done, I want you to drop the knees back down to the mat and come back down for a little child's pose again here. Resting your forehead down towards the mat. And just remembering that whether you're choosing a downward facing dog or whether you're choosing, you know, the other options that I'm offering, really just knowing that there is no right or wrong option if you're listening to your body. Then we're going to come back to all fours position now, and finally, last but not least, we're going to have a little play with pincher. So tuck your toes under, exhale, hips up to downward facing dog. You could be working here. You might be like, right, I've done quite enough with my inversions today. I just want to take a downward facing dog or a child's pose. So this is where you could be working. The next option is you bring the forearms down and you work with your dolphin. So walking your feet in as close as you can and really trying to hold this position to strengthen all the muscles here. And of course, if pincher is in your practice and you want to have a play with pincher, then now is your time. Finishing off the option that you went for, dropping the knees down, and we're going to take a final child's pose. So melting yourself into a little ball on your mat, drawing your forehead towards the mat or having it connected to something here, closing your eyes or taking a steady gaze out in front, relaxing the body, letting the muscles soften. Allow your body weight to be fully received by the ground beneath you. And breathe. And slowly opening the eyes, taking an inhale, coming away from your child's pose, just finding your way back to a comfortable seated position on your mat. Bring one hand to the belly, one hand to the chest. Connecting with your breath, noticing which parts of your body move as you breathe. Let the face soften, the neck, the shoulders. Let the shoulder blades run down your back. Thank you for joining me for this practice. I hope you enjoyed it, whether you are experienced with your inversions or not. Please do comment and feedback to me on how you're getting on, and well done for showing up for this practice today. And I can't wait to see you for another practice, hopefully very soon. Do subscribe to this channel if you enjoyed this. And yes, thank you. Bye-bye.